not what I normally do. I'm going to read my intro because the wording is quite specific and it is 4 minutes long as I timed it. And then after that, because there are so many different parts to the work that I do, I would invite you to suggest which direction the discussion should go in after that. I'm quite happy to speak off the top of my head about any of those things, but I would like it to be of interest to you directly. So for the people in the room who say, this is what I'd like to know about, please tell me more about this, then hopefully you'll get more of what you want rather than me deciding what you might want. Okay, so there is the email list there that's going round if you'd like to have a copy of Indestructible Health. And the reason I called it Is There Life Before Death? Our belief in soul connection after death can help us in the here and now, is because I used to ask people, how would you like to live forever? And their reaction used to be, no, 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 no. And then I'd ask them why. And I realised that they assumed a lot of stuff about ageing, getting older, getting infirm. And at that point, I was training in breathwork, which has become the way that I've increased the oxygen supply to my body and the way that I have allowed myself to let go of any of the tension, restriction and stress that stopped me from connecting with my soul. And that was a really useful 15-year practice, because then I got hit by a car and I was able to survive because of this breathing practice. During the time, I bled to death in a couple of minutes. So I lost half my blood in a couple of minutes and I knew I was dying. I was told somebody's hand. And so then for a little while, I was above my body, which was in the road. And I was really aware of what was happening and who I was and what was going on. And I had a choice. And the choice was either to keep going where there was no pain, because at that point I couldn't feel a thing, or to go back to the pain, which was horrible, and see my children grow up. And as those words formed in my mind, I went back to my body because that's what I chose. And I sincerely believe that had I not had the health practice, oxygen practice that I already had, I wouldn't have been able to make that choice. So it is clear to me that we are spiritual beings appearing, disappearing and reappearing into physical experience along a spiritual train, like passengers getting on and off a travelling train through time. Enough people have returned aware or had a near miss, like me, to be able to confirm this and make it widespread knowledge. So how can this knowledge help us? I'm going to talk about not only the belief in soul connection, but the deliberate training of ourselves to nurture and focus upon it, because it's the most useful guidance we have access to in guiding our physical and spiritual lives. To do this well, we need to be physically well. And the reason I say that is because I know that I survived that experience. Sorry, that freaked me out. I was doing my best to carry on, but it was really challenging to be photographed without warning. So I lost my flow in there. So to do this well, to connect with our soul well, and I point here because I've realised this is the place that we are connected to our soul. But to do it well, we need to be physically well. I've realised this because I survived, and I survived because I was physically well and I had practices already in place that worked very well. The reason I also say that is because whenever we are unwell, it's as a result of misalignment. That's energetic misalignment. And it means that we then cannot feel our soul connection. So while we're buried in any physical discomfort or illness or experience that is something that's troubling us, our focus is outward or into the pain or whatever the difficulties that we're having. And we're not clear enough, we're not aligned enough to be able to feel this delicate soul connection. So I've made it my practice for the last don't know, certainly a year now, to really feel bliss. And it's become normal, which is very interesting. So let me ask you as a group, do you know how to create or become aware of your soul connection right now? Do you have a method to do it? Okay. How many are happy with the connection that you already have with your soul? So I'm sure you're aware you've got a connection, and you may not be very clear of how it works and feel it directly, but you've got one. You probably wouldn't be here otherwise. I mean, at the meeting, not on the earth. So going on from there, I acknowledge we are quantum creatures, more like a hologram than a jug that you fill up with knowledge. We're more like a hologram that spreads. As you gain more light, you get more and more detail into who you really are. And more like a transmission beacon than a depot. So we're not a warehouse that we fill the shelves up with knowledge. We're actually a transmitting device where we receive and give out energy. And so, for example, when I've got a frog now. When a client of mine who's a GP said to me recently, I'm really worried because of my breath practice, I'm getting more popular, more patients want to come and see me. Is this going to deplete me? So I said, well, as you're practicing the breath work, this energy that people are attracted to, it's not coming from you, it's coming through you. We are souls having a physical experience, and our physical health depends upon our soul connection. So if we improve our soul connection, we will be physically well. I can vouch for this, first of all, because I tried dying for a little while, and secondly, because I not only survived, but I continue to be well, without any infection during all of my recovery and for the next decade and a half. So I haven't, to my knowledge, been ill for 30 years. I felt what my soul feels like without my body. That's fun. And I recognise what it feels like physically when I am consciously connected to my soul. That's real fun to understand that, to learn that. When we see ourselves in this way, most of Western understanding falls over. So going back to my saying that we're less like a jug than a depot, Western understanding, medicine, philosophy really sees people as vessels that hold stuff and move around. And I'm saying that's not what we are, which I'm sure you get to. So let's look at this all in a way that philosophers have realised over the centuries. Our soul is what animates us. Our breath is what anchors our soul to our physical body. Our feelings are what guide us. Let's experience that for a moment. So what I'd like to invite you to do now is a little practice called 20 breaths. I don't know if you've come across it. Caroline probably has. Yeah. It is on YouTube if you want to go back to it and play with it another time. It is only 20 breaths, it's not very long, but it is an interesting thing to do, and I really like it. So I count on my fingers, makes it easier for me. We do 4 short breaths and 1 long breath 4 times. You might like to close your eyes. I may or may not, because I might fall over. Let me try something like that. Okay. 4 short breaths. 1 long breath. That's 1 set. 4 short breaths. 1 long breath. 2 sets. 4 short breaths. 3. Last one. 4 short breaths. last longer. Okay. How does it make you feel?
Dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Goes straight into the head.
Feel any
Lightness.
buzzing?
Buzzing.
Yeah. Energy? Yeah. Okay. The reason I wanted to do that was to give you a real physical experience
Oh, yeah.
of how changing your breath, or at least becoming conscious of it, just for that length of time, brings in the energy. Really. So the energy isn't ours. We're not manufacturing it. We're receiving it. And it goes with the breath, but it's energy. So in the air we have oxygen, and the energy comes in to us at that time. When we breathe out, out goes carbon dioxide. And if you breathe like that and you become lightheaded, it's because you are unfamiliar with breathing out that much carbon dioxide at once. Now, if you're not used to breathing fully outward, the carbon dioxide stays in you. Carbon dioxide is toxic, and I really believe that chronic diseases are closely related to this. So if you wish to make yourself well, breathing is the very first place to start. That is my practice. I teach people to do rebirthing breathwork. 70% of the body's waste products are breathed out in the breath, 5% in sweat, 25% when you go to the loo. Okay. So you think how much waste you see when you go to the toilet, how much gets flushed and pushed away? That's only about a third of what actually your body needs to expel. And if you're not breathing well and fully, you're limiting it. So I can now go on to talk about various different aspects. One of those is why we aren't breathing fully. One of those is related to why it's important to increase the oxygen distribution even after you've breathed it in. But that's in the guide, which you can read later if you want to. And if you don't want to sign up the thing, you can get it from my website or from Kindle this weekend. I can talk to you more about my experience on the accident, which is the topic of this book. And when I was able to think clearly, which was a while, it was really, really interesting to understand why I'd survived and why I had no complications and why I had 100% skin graft take, which apparently never happens. There's no form, no place on the form when they look at your skin graft for it to have taken 100% because it never happens. So they had to make a new bit for me. I wouldn't let them put 90 because it wasn't true. So yeah, I can talk about breath work. I can talk about how I survived and why. Any of those things related. I can talk about soul experience and why it's so valuable. And if you're not putting your hands up and asking me questions, what I would love to do is to go on to talk about how I have and how one can create that soul connection quite deliberately. Yeah. So apart from being physically incredibly well, which I totally recommend because when you are, it's much easier. What I've established for myself now with doing breath work for the first few years, probably I started in 1989. The first few years probably I was doing it consciously most days. These days, before I had that accident, it became so much a part of my awareness to make sure that I was breathing fully all the time, that I have an automatic system, like a little light that goes on that says, Catherine, you're holding your breath. And it's a rare thing. So I've cleared myself nicely and I maintain that clarity. I also deliberately don't allow my sense of self, personal area, to be polluted. So I keep clear. I don't have a TV. I choose very carefully who I mix with.
I was worried there for a minute. I thought I was going to get sacked.
I choose my thoughts, and that's something that loads of the people you'll be talking about, in this festival. I've learned how to recognise my energy level. I've learned how to realise that my ebullience, enthusiasm, lightness is the path I wish to follow. So if something is inspiring me, that's something I'm going to follow. But I don't have to do it forever. That's something that was a big lesson I needed to realise. It's only the next step. When I get to there, I look around from the new perspective vantage point, and then I take the next step, all the while connecting my breath. So I have this healing process going on, which is helping me to let go of stuff in my past, in my childhood, in my babyhood, whatever that might be, that limited me, which we all have to some degree or other, particularly if we're searching for change. And then I found, as I deliberately allowed myself to become happier and more accepted, more acceptable, that I could feel physically something like a little door opening here. And it was weird to start off with. I thought, what's that? Anybody else get that? What's that? And then I sat with him. I said, you know, actually, it's bliss. That might be nice. We might want to stay there. So then I made it my practice to I was going to say chase. That's not true. It's not chasing it. It's being aware of it as much of the time as I possibly can, and allowing it by breathing while I'm feeling that feeling. Years ago I ran a course and we had a speaker who was talking about, well, it was bliss, I think was really his topic. And he said, the thing that we're more afraid of than being afraid is being blissful. And why would I be afraid of that? What would that lead me to? So I carry on exploring and opening to those things. And I found that the practical application of it is so useful, because while I'm in that position, I will receive and be aware of receiving a lot more inspiration. So although my pride was dented slightly when I realised that it's not me coming up with the bright idea, I'm just receiving the idea, I like to sort of put my badge on it. So it's my idea. But it means that the inspiration flows through me frequently, and I can invite it, and I can ask questions, and I can ask for a solution, and then I can park it, not observe it, focusing on where I am and what I'm doing. It will come to me. A little bit like when you lose something, you mislay something in the house, you can't think where it is. And as soon as you go and focus on something else, it comes to you where you've left it. Yeah. Okay.
Catherine, apart from your breathing,
Yeah.
is there anything else you've had to almost not do or let go of in order to get that better, that delightful sounding thing of this door?
Is there anything else I've had to do?
Yeah, if that makes sense. So, I mean, you can put it the other way and, you know, is there anything else you've done? But, you know, you've talked about your breathing.
I really think the breathwork is the fundamental thing. Yeah, because I'm trying to think now, the things I did beforehand, I've always exercised a reasonable amount. I still do. I was eating 50% raw at the time I had the accident. I now eat a lot more raw. It hasn't changed that much. My sensation hasn't changed from doing the other things. So I do think it's the breathwork. Mostly because when I've done a breathwork session, which is about an hour, by the way, I come back feeling aligned. I can feel as though all of the bits of me have been straightened up, and so my spirit, mind and body we're all working together. Yeah, everything feels more connected and faster and well insulated in an electronic way. Feels as though it's all sparkling nicely.
So the breathwork's fundamental, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How often do you do the breathwork? Sort of?
Currently, about twice a week as a session, but all the time. Yeah.
Daily.
All the time. There would be a couple of times, I've noticed today, a couple of times when I've perhaps hesitated for a little while, but it's minimal compared to what it used to be like. I used to be asthmatic. Before I went for rebirthing breathwork, I was asthmatic. I had no idea that it would release that. That was a super side effect. Yeah, I can cycle up hills in the freezing cold now. I used not to be able to.
How long does your daily sort of sessions last then?
Day to day, I just maintain it constantly, which is, how your dog breathes. That's how we're meant to breathe. And if I've got something I'm working on, then I might actually go and set out and lie down and do it consciously and turn off the phone. I do it specifically. That doesn't always last as long, but sometimes it does. Sometimes I can disappear into another dimension for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's rare, but it is extraordinary. And I have had experiences that people would call other lifetime experiences relatively frequently. So when I was hit by the car and I died for a little while, it wasn't a new experience. I'd been there before. So I was pleased because for lots of reasons I was prepared for this thing to happen. When I'm doing a session with somebody, it's about 2 hours, sometimes a little longer. It depends on how long their breathing session lasts. But your body has a rhythm. So you lie down and we cover you up to make you feel cosy, and then I just sit with you, making sure you're connecting your breath. But most of the time it's a silent process. And it really is just allowing your body to breathe itself and to relearn to do that in a peaceful way. And by doing that, you become aware of the things that are stopping you, particularly around here. So when we were taught as children, and I know my mother did not deliberately teach me this, but we were taught one way or another not to cry, it stops you from expressing anything. Once I'd done my breath work and learned to express and be able to cry and not feel so embarrassed about it, I realised I was also able to laugh. So I'd been shutting down everything. Yeah. And when I've been doing breath work, which I've been doing a long time now, I've worked with 50% men, 50% women. And that's been a beautiful experience for me because it's enabled me to really understand how it is to be a man, what it feels like. And the answer is actually our emotions are identical. The way that we get treated is not the same, but how we feel is. And that's why I'm really pro doing this sort of work and enabling everyone to feel and understand that human feelings are human first, and that nobody is different, and nobody deserves more gentle or better treatment. Yeah. So, is there anything that tickles your fancy?
You were saying about different dimensions in your breath work?
Yeah. Well, from my understanding, which of course is, I am physical, my understanding was I moved into the 4th dimension, which was beautiful. Totally recommend it. It was wonderful. But there was a part of me that definitely wanted to go that way, not that way. If I hadn't had children, I would have gone that way, happily. Yeah. I understand from reading, but less from experience. Okay, I've had a little bit more. That there are many more dimensions, something like 9 perhaps, but who knows, it's a limitless universe. So the 4th dimension I'm familiar with, and I go back there, and I can actually stand at the, it's like an archway that you can go through, and on the other side are all the dead people that you've ever known, and on this side are the live people, yeah. So I can choose to go and talk to anybody. I can have a conversation with them. It just takes a bit of focus. That's quite fun. I've also had the experience of being an angel, which was really weird. And I was standing in a place where there were cellars beneath me and a lot of space and floors above me, and there was nobody there, and I was in an emotionally challenging situation. And so I stood there and I connected. And as I came back, I could see light that was the colour of ash wood. Do you know ash or maple? It's really pale wood. Mm-hmm. And I was really aware that it was this sort of blend of colour. The colour was really important. So I then went and looked it up, of course, what does this light mean? What does this colour mean? And I heard more recently somebody who does angel work talking about Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, being vanilla coloured. And I thought, that's the word I couldn't get. So I've had experience of being in that energy almost at the same time as being human. Thank you. Yeah, and I understand that's another level up. It was only brief, but it was really powerful, and I've never forgotten it. And it's given me this sense of a sort of a big connection across a lot of people, a lot of this sort of idea that we're all one. It's given me that sort of energy in a personal way, which was fabulous and fascinating and really helpful, because I was upset at the time, and it made me feel everything would be okay. Yeah. Gobsmacked me as well.
You were talking about the fourth dimension and
yes.
other levels, and you've sort of been there. You met people who you knew previously. Did they communicate with you? Did they say things to you, or you just were aware they were there somehow?
When I died in the accident, I wasn't aware of anybody else at that point. It was only when I went back subsequently and thought, well, this could be fun. And you can just invite anybody. Like I do it now. I can talk to anybody. And
you get some feedback?
Yeah.
Two-way?
Yeah. Yeah, you can feel it.
And
sometimes it's in words.
Mm-hmm.
You understand, if you've known the person well, you understand it's them because of the phrases they use.
Mm.
And, of course, some of it, especially if they're relatives, some of it is the energy that's still in me that knew them when they were alive anyway. Mm. But, yeah, you can. But I do take really to heart the advice I was given, which is if somebody wasn't particularly bright when they were alive, they're not going to be much more help when they're dead.
Great tip.
Don't think they're wiser just because they're died.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Oh, I've got just 2 minutes left now.
Can the breathing work achieve anything? If it's like somebody who's losing their hearing, can we rectify anything that's physically wrong with us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You can rectify stuff by doing all the things in here. With something like hearing, it will mostly be diet.
Diet.
Yeah,
right.
Particularly vitamin A.
Right.
Yeah, we don't eat enough raw vegetables.
Yeah.
That's our big thing. And Caroline knows I've been exploring,
I know.
grating them. Yeah,
it's really delicious.
And I'm delighted. My eyesight has maintained. I've always had good eyesight. Has maintained. My body appears to be working really well, and I'm very happy for it to continue to do so. And I don't know. I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to see how far I can go.
Yeah.
How long can I live? What can I do? Can I fly? Yeah, all that stuff.
Are you actually saying vegetables?
Yes.
Raw vegetables for hearing? Yeah.
Vitamin A.
Vitamin A.
Anything with yellow colouring in. So carrots, beetroot, spinach, loads of spinach, watercress, cress, tomatoes, peppers. Some of it's in there.
Because I'm not a full-time vegetarian. In fact, I'm a part-time vegetarian. But I eat very little meat.
You don't need to be vegetarian. You just need to make sure you eat what your body actually needs, what it gets the benefit from, and in a way that you can digest it. If any of you want to talk to me, because it's going to get across to me now, I've got a minute. If you want to talk to me, put your put your number on here. Any of the sheets, write down your details and I'll get in touch with you. I'm happy to give anyone an hour of my time for nothing, because I want people to know stuff.
Thank you.
It's only digital.
So download it.
Download it. On the website. Yeah. You can download it full time.
I like it so much. I used to do it for myself.
To your list.
There's a sheet on the chair. If you've got one, you've got one. Thank you.
I'll take another one.
Yeah, if you've got a sheet. You've got the details. Thank you.
So you're actually saying that
Yeah, I mean the beetroot, carrots,
Bring me up and we'll talk about wine. Yeah, bring me up and have a conversation. Skype maybe. We'll get together. Yeah, we can do it.
where are you guys?
So the hour school is free. Sessions with me are quite expensive, but the hour school is free.
Where are you based?
So
the last thing you put on top of the lovely big bowl.
What do you do this hour
an equal
on the
quantity
phone?
wherever you like. You can live locally, you can do it in person, or on Skype if you want to see.
Really nice.
Or by visit to you have like a clinic?
No, I just work from home.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, but I need to go now. I'm going to be in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you.
And you have to admit, it's like when we went to that salad.
Yes.
You really enjoyed it.
Which one's in
Thanks,
mine?
That was great. See you in a minute.
Thank you for coming, love.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
Enjoyed
you
it.
for coming, love.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. It's fun. You can tell.